it's Olivia-Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe, and you are welcome to week 3 of Gothtober. This vlog will actually be a week, unlike the last one. We are going to be reading horror, and we are also going to be reading dark romance. So there's a couple of books I'm carrying over, and also light romance. There's a couple of books that I'm carrying over from the last vlog. They are Loathe to Love You and Damascus, so please click the link below to find out more information about these. But right now I'm actually going to start another book because I'm in the mood to start a new book, and there's a book that I just want to read, so I'm going to do it. So let me get the book actually. Ooh. This one. So yes, this one. This is what I'm going to read next. This is Radiant Sin by Katee. I think dark romance, or like dark Greek mythology romance, is absolutely befitting of Gothtober. I'm a co-host, I make the rules. And Radiant Sin, in terms of Greek mythology, it's a retelling of Apollo and Cassandra's story, where Apollo needs some information work to be done due to political reasons of what's happening in the series that I can't explain because this is the 4th book in a series. Yes. Look at me reading my sequels. And in order to complete this information seeking task that he needs to do, he needs someone to go undercover, and that is going to be our lovely lead female character in this, Cassandra. That's all I know about this going in. It is, I did look at the ratings, it's the lowest rated of the 4 that I've read so far, so my hopes are not very high. I am going to the Globe soon, next week, within this vlog basically, to go and see Troilus and Cressida. This is a Shakespeare play, and I am on a mission. I've said this so many times in vlogs. I am on a mission to watch all of the Shakespeare plays that Shakespeare has put out in theatre, and so I am achieving this by going to the 3-hour standing tickets for £5 at the Globe. The Globe is kind of where Shakespeare performed his plays anyways, and everything I've seen there has been fantastic, even plays that I don't like, and I hope that this will be the case because I read Troilus and Cressida, and I have to say I don't actually find, you know, Shakespearean language that hard to understand or that confusing, which is probably an element of me having studied his works for a year. But within that year, Troilus and Cressida was the play that I understood the least. I could not get it. I didn't know what was happening. I was like looking at notes and looking at translations while reading. I found it a very difficult play to follow. And so when I did it for that week at uni, because we did a Shakespeare play a week, what did I do? I read the whole thing, and then I watched on a recording of a theatre production that uni had access to, so it was all legal, and I loved watching that theatre recording. So I've actually seen it on video being produced in theatre, and I loved it and I understood it. It's an action-packed play. It's also like a bit of a romantic play, like there's lots of love drama happening, and the action is the key thing that's happening, and I really thought it was fantastic. So I'm hoping that by seeing it in stage I'm gonna have that same effect of understanding it and finding it fantastic. But because I know the play is so complicated, I want to kind of familiarize myself with the original text. I'm not going to reread it. I am going to read a summary version because I do want to reread all my Shakespeare plays, but that is a story for another day and a video for another day. So I'm not going to reread it. I'm going to read a summary, and I'm going to read this, and hopefully those two things will get me in the mood for watching Troilus and Cressida. Much no time has passed, but we are here sooner than usual because I want to have a cup of tea, and so it's a good time for me to choose from the advent calendar. But I should also give you a bit of a reading update because I stayed up until 4 AM yesterday reading, and I don't do that very often anymore. I'm an adult, I've got responsibilities, but every now and again the teen fangirl in me just erupts, and yesterday I was like, I can have a late night, and it ended up being 4 AM. So what I read while I was reading at night was romance. I typically read romance or dark romance when I have those late night sessions, and I finished reading Loathe to Love You by Hazelwood. I read the last short story, which was called Below Zero, and this one was more interesting than the others. So in the beginning I didn't really like it because it was throwing a lot of aerospace and engineering jargon at us, and it's not even that I couldn't understand it because I read, you know, hardcore sci-fi. I'm used to this kind of jargon, but it was just like I don't really want it in my romance book, and I was just like, why? And then we got over that and we got more to the romance, and then I quite liked it because she flips a lot of the things that she usually does. So she usually has the woman as the clueless character, and instead the man was the more clueless one. She usually has the woman as the inexperienced one physically, and then this time it was the man. No, it wasn't really, but it wasn't the woman, she was also experienced. And like, she just flipped a lot of the usual tropes that she had, which made it a bit more fun. But I did think it was a bit of a rocky beginning. It was also the last one in the collection, so there were like cameos from the previous characters. All of these stories link up because it's a friendship group that you're following through. It was a good time. I enjoyed reading this. I do think in terms of quality, this book is not the best, or the short stories are not the best, but in terms of enjoyment, it's really up there because I could stay up late reading this. So I really don't understand what I'm going to rate it, but I had a good time reading Loathe to Love You. And now that I've read 3 Ali Hazelwood books, I just know I want to just keep reading the rest of them, so I've got to do that. But I finished that collection and I thought, I'm still not ready to go to sleep, so let me read some more romance. And I started reading Radiant Sin, and this I'm like 70 pages in, so it's already off the bat going. So what I can tell you about this book is that I think it's going to be my least favourite in the series so far. This is the 4th book, so I've read 3 previously, and of the 4 books ish, including this one that I've read, 3 of them have been fake dating. 3. Okay, the second one was arranged marriage, but that's pretty much fake dating. And this one is, you know, with her going undercover, she's going undercover as his girlfriend. So again, it is fake dating. And I'm just like, fake dating is, you know, my second favourite romance trope, but I don't need it in every single book. Like, explore some of the other tropes, please. So I am just feeling a bit battle weary of the trope that we get in this world. It did kick off with like more of the politics happening, so there is that element, and I do think, you know, a plot is going to be plotting in this one. The overarching plot is going to be plotting in this one, so hopefully that comes into it more because I'm enjoying that whenever we get to see it. Also, so this book is not insta-love, but these 2 characters have been pining for each other for 5 years. So when we get to the story where it starts, they already have such big crushes on each other and are halfway in love with each other. But it's not insta-love because they clearly have this history together. It's just a history that we personally haven't seen. So they're like deep in it. They've been fancying each other for ages, and now they're gonna have this fake dating situation. So there's not really gonna be a moment where they fall in love, I don't think. It's just like we're seeing them get together finally after a long time, which is also just not my favourite thing, because I like the whole falling for each other thing, or, you know, friends to lovers is my favourite trope, so I don't mind if they've both been pining for each other but are worried about losing a friendship or something. But they're also not friends because Apollo is Cassandra's employer, so that makes it more of a workplace dynamic than a friends to lovers dynamic. So it's just like it's not quite the tropes I want, but I'm still going to read it. And I'm probably still going to have a good time. So that's where we are with the reading, but I do want to sit down, have a cup of tea, have some custard creams, and for that I want to read Count Damascus because I'm in the mood to get back into horror in my daylight hours. So let's pull the tea. So I think in the first vlog I was like, we're going to finish this in Gothtober. No, that's not going to happen because I didn't count properly, because we need to drink 22 and 23. So 22 is for this vlog, 23 is for the last week vlog, and then 24 will be for my final vlog. I'm halfway through my November theme because it's an ongoing theme, you'll see. And then for my December one, where I have a wild card, I will drink 24. So in December I will drink the last one, and that's quite fitting. Where's 22? 22 is right there. See what you get. Ooh, we got honey bush and rooibos, which is really good because I love rooibos tea. I've drank it so many times, and I specifically like rooibos tea with a flavouring of honey in it. So honey bush and rooibos, my kind of tea. What does it say here? Just as punchy as black tea, but naturally caffeine free, perfect for those last 40 mins before Saint Nick appears. Sure, honey, sure. A scrumptious blend of slightly sweet honeybush with the nutty overtones of rooibos, 2 native African shrubs. They grow only in the Cederberg mountain region of South Africa and are harvested and prepared in much the same way to regular tea. Naturally caffeine free, this blend is a great alternative to regular tea. So nice caffeine free tea. I could probably do with the caffeine, but that's fine. Let me brew this, get me some custard creams, get me my book, and get cozy. It smells delicious. It smells like a really good rooibos tea. It looks like a deep, rich brown. Ugh, I just love rooibos tea. It's such a good tea. Such a good tea. This smells like a good one. Yum. Delicious, delicious. That is perfect. I feel like it's really hard for me to say what is the best rooibos tea. I do think, as the back of the tea bag said, all the spices are like grown in the same place and often treated the same way. So this just tastes like a really good rooibos tea. I've just never had a bad rooibos tea. I think it's so hard to get wrong. It's such a nice, rich flavour. Delicious. Right, I'm here. I got Camp Damascus. I got my custard creams. Let's do some reading. It is, but lately I'm just really in the mood to stand while I am talking to you. So let's give you a bit of an update. So what happened is, yesterday we had our craft live show, which was nice. I was joined by Abby from Abby Pellinor, Becca from The Book Sanctum, and Celine from Stuff Celine Does, or Stuff Celine Reads, and it was a really good time. And I baked a 1-pan cookie. It was supposed to be vegan, but the one I made wasn't, because I used white chocolate instead of dark chocolate. But that was the literal only swap out to make it not vegan. And this was from Callum Harris's first cookbook, and it was so good, it worked out. I'm not a natural baker. Don't know why I'm hiding these books behind my back. You know I'm going to talk about them. I'm not a natural baker, so this was like good for me that it turned out well. And I had some of that this morning for breakfast, and I'm taking some to where I'm going to give it to my sister and some friends I'm meeting. It all went really well, and then I did a lot of reading. I was so in the mood to read. And so let's give you an update, because I'm exactly halfway through both of these books. So first, let's talk about Camp Damascus. So what I thought was going on is indeed what is going on. I feel very proud to have been able to predict and guess what I think the situation is, and now that we've got a better understanding of the situation, our main character now has to do something about it, and I honestly have no idea how that's going to turn out. So very much enjoying this, and it is kind of really heavily commentary on religious trauma, but also not just religious trauma, religious organizations, which I agree is also a problem. So not only talking about the religious trauma that queer people face and experience and how awful it is and how it's an element of taking away someone's identity and really problematic, but also the issue that happens when capitalization and religion converge and merge, and you've got religious people who are using that religion in their capitalist decisions. The problems that can emerge when you have organised and institutionalized religion in places like political spaces and, you know, economic spaces. That's what some of the commentary is on this, but it's still, you know, not just like this is some commentary. It's literally a story, and it's not shoving that message down your throat. It's very clearly showing and depicting it. However, what I will say is that the main character, she kind of has to realize some things by thinking about them and putting pieces together, which I think makes sense. But at the same time, I was just like, this feels very direct, the way that she's reached these conclusions. So I'm still really enjoying it and I still think it's really, really good, but for now this is the book that's for my high expectations prompt, and I'm feeling like it's at a 4-star right now, but of course that can change because I've still got the whole latter half of the book to go and I have no idea where that's gonna go. And then the other book that I'm reading at the moment is Radiant Sin. Oh my goodness, I can't stop reading this. I can't stop reading it. And listen, everything I said still stands. It's still, you know, I can still see why this is people's least favourite because of the way this book is set up, the way the characterization is done, the way the plot is set up, and honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed in the plot because I'm halfway through and this sets up such a good plot that I can't talk about, but basically there's a potential threat within, you know, Dark Olympus, and they're trying to figure out what this threat wants and what they're doing there, and they have to kind of masquerade at this party, whole load of stuff. And for the amount of danger that they keep saying they're in, and for the reason why they're there in fake dating, whole load of nothing is happening, you know? Whole load of nothing is happening. In the first 100 pages, it sets up the political situation really well, and the plot really well, and then it's just really slowed down. Steamy romance-wise, Katee Robert can get it. She can get it good, because she knows how to write it. I literally say this every time I review one of her books, but they are so steamy. I need to fan myself while I'm reading this book, because I'm like, girl. And this has like light BDSM elements in it, and I'm not even going to play with you because you already know from my reviews I really like BDSM in my books, clearly, and my favourite Sarah Simone ones are ones that do that, but I actually struggle to find authors that do it in a very consensual and a non-problematic way. Sarah Simone has pretty much been my only one, but you know, Katee Robert, she's number 2. She's number 2, she can get it, and also Alexis Hall as well. So 3 authors, that's it. I've got 3 authors under my belt who know how to do it well. But yeah, steamy light BDSM stuff is really good, and you can tell that these characters have like chemistry and history because, as I said before, they've been crushing on each other for 5 years. But it's kind of like it is taking over the plot, which, you know, I'm reading a dark romance series, so I know it's going to take over the plot, but you know, I actually think in the previous books she's done a very good job of balancing the plot and the steaminess. In this one, it's not as balanced, but I am liking the couple. But that's what I've got to say for my reading update. Now what I can tell you is that I'm going to the Black British Book Festival. This happens in London once a year and sometimes in Manchester once a year as well, so twice a year. And there's loads of panels with like black authors and black publishing people, so if you're wanting to get into publishing, it can be really good to talk to editors and to talk to different publishing folk and just get lots of information and network. There's also a lot that writers can do. They have workshops there, and then they also have the authors on panels. I myself am on a panel today. It's my first time ever being on a panel, so you know, I hope it goes well. I've been on virtual panels before, but not like in person in a festival panels. I'm speaking on a panel as somebody who works in publishing, and on my panel is Talia Hibbert, so let's take a moment for that, because she's one of the authors I love, and I just need to like not fangirl all over her but be very cool and professional. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm going with my sister, she's going to be there, and I'm volunteering for a couple of hours on the stand that my publisher runs. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. I haven't been nervous, I've known about this for months. I haven't been nervous the whole time, and it's on the day and like a little bit of the nerves have kicked in, but it's going to be fine. Here to give you a bit of an update while I get ready for work and to leave. I think we should start with, what should we start with? Let's start with the books. So first of all, I have since finished reading Radiant Sin, which was really good. I enjoyed this. This felt a bit more softer than the other books in the series. Like it was less brutal, which is really interesting for me to say because at the end it was very brutal. So I think everything in that last 100 pages really ramped up the suspense and ramped up the plot and the storyline, but for the most part the storyline in this one is a little bit relaxed, a little bit more chill, a little bit more focused on the romance. And even in her acknowledgements, Katee Roberts says like, oh, I hope you enjoyed a bit of a like softer story set in the world of Olympus. So I didn't expect that, and that's why I think it might be people's least favorite. But for me, I still really enjoyed it, and I still really put this up there with, you know, the rest of the series and think it's a great addition. I like Cassandra Apollo. I think they're really good to each other. Their BDSM steamy scenes, and they're like, you know, what if we get court kink is actually really like steamy and very hot. And then, as well as liking all of the steamy scenes, I did actually like where the ending went with the storyline. I was like, oh my gosh, are they really doing this? And they were really doing this, and it was very suspenseful, and it did have stakes, and it was quite intense. And I feel like, you know, when you know Greek mythology, you kind of have to know a little bit about, you know, the different characters and the Greek gods, and therefore you can put two and two together and kind of, this is how it has to end because I know that X god is like this and this person kind of fits that category. So sometimes you can figure things out a little bit if you know Greek mythology, but that is what you get in the essence of a retelling. And I don't think that, you know, changes the whole plot, because for the majority of this I actually did not know what was going on or what their big plan was, and then it becomes clear, you know, as everything pieces together, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should have seen this coming, but you don't, which is really nice because you still get, you know, an element of the unexpected. So I thought this was jolly good. And I did mention on Instagram as well, something that I've realized I really like about Katee's writing, other than the constant, you know, really healthy consent and the fact that they also always have very well written steamy scenes, is the fact that I really like how they describe characters. So there's lots of different, you know, ethnicities within the world of Olympus. There's black characters, there's white characters, there's Asian characters. And whenever Katee Robert is describing a character, they say like, oh, this gorgeous black woman walked into the room, or this young white man entered the parlor. And I really like the fact that the tags are just like white, black, Asian. And it's just, I think people really get caught up in their heads, especially as writers, like, how do we describe these characters? How do we, you know, use a different synonym for the word white or the word black, and use words like chocolate or like creamy, dark chocolate? And it's just like, we're not edibles, and those are very big stereotypes that get used a lot and a lot. But I really like how Katee Robert is just like simple, straightforward, easygoing. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can just describe people as black. It's not offensive or whatsoever. And again, as well as that, Katee Robert always tags the white characters. They're always like, oh yeah, a white woman walked in. And because Katee Robert is always tagging white characters, it dispels the, you know, often unintentional notion that if there's no ethnicity, physical descriptor, the character is white, and it's decentering whiteness as the norm, which is really satisfying to me as a reader, which is the smallest detail. But I think sometimes people in dark romance especially like really write off the writer's skill, and there are dark romance writers out there, or very steamy romance writers out there, who have such good quality and really thoughtful writing that's very intentional. I think Katee Robert does this, I think Alexis Hall does this, I think Sierra Simone does this, and that's why they are the authors I tend to read steamy works by. And I do delve into others, but unless I'm finding that quality of writing that I personally love, I find it really hard to, you know, enjoy it. So just saying that, you know, this series is really good. I keep saying this. And then as well as that, I started a buddy read with one of my work colleagues, and we're buddy reading Plain Ice by Rachel Harrison. I've read Bad Dolls by Rachel Harrison before, which is her short story collection, but this is my first time reading one of her novels. And this is following the youngest daughter of three sisters. She's 25 though, and they all don't really know their mum. They've been separate from their mum for a long time, and then their mum dies, and their mum dies in their childhood home. Does this sound like a haunted house story? Because it is. And not only is this house haunted supposedly, but apparently the mum strongly believes that this house is possessed, and she's kept this house because she keeps trying to exorcise it, and then she ends up dead within it. So because of that, the house falls into the possession of these three sisters. These three sisters have been haunted by their like abusive childhood, but the youngest sibling that we're following doesn't really remember that much of it, just knows that it was bad. And so she decides she's going to take it upon herself to take this house that's their inheritance, do it up and sell it. But of course that means spending time within this possessed house. So even though this is like a drop-in buddy read with my work colleague, we are still counting it for Gothtober because this can fill my sentient house prompt. This fulfills my prompt of like LGBTQ+, because Katee Robert is a trans author, Katee uses she, they pronouns, and then also because it's a queer normative world, all of these characters are pretty much queer and that's normalized. And you know, Cassandra has an ex who is really involved in the plot, and so she's cool, but she is like having a romance with Apollo in this one. So yeah, the Coworker, I'm really hoping it will fulfill my other multiple point of view prompt, because what Freida McFadden usually does is has a present day storyline and a past storyline. So I'm going to start the Coworker, and if it doesn't have that, I'm going to have to find another one of Freida McFadden thrillers that I own that does do the back and forth. It's stretching multiple point of views, but I think point of view of your past self and point of view of your present self does count. Now, let me tell you what's been happening in life. So on Sunday, I went to the Black British Book Festival, and oh my gosh, it was popping. It was so fun. It was honestly so fun. It was so busy. There were so many people there, and I loved how like the atmosphere, I don't know if I've talked about this at all yet, but just the atmosphere of black people in a room is amazing. We bring the party to anything, and honestly, we even brought the party there because there was a DJ like playing the whole time, and then at some point they started playing like some very typical like black club songs, and everybody got down and there was like dancing and like the music turned right up and it was a party. But as well as that, I ended up, there's so many opportunities for you to win free books. So I myself won a free book. I won a Penguin cloth bound edition of The Lonely Londoners by Sam Selvin, which was fantastic because I do, you know, collect those Penguin classic editions. And then there was also, you know, opportunities to buy these really beautiful tote bags. I bought a t-shirt that says Read Black and I absolutely love it. I've been really enjoying t-shirts that just have nice prints on them. I don't have that many, but I've got 2 now. So I'm gonna try and get a couple more of those. I know my wardrobe desperately needs them. This capsule wardrobe is too capsule at the moment. But yeah, it was really good. I went to some panels. I went to a panel that was about love and chaos in black romance, and Bolu Babalola was on the panel, Stephanie Yeboah and Lisa Bent, and it was chaired by Kyra, I want to say Bulla, and it was really nice. There's somebody in publishing who's an editor called Sarita Domingo. She's also an author. She was also an author, and she recently passed away a couple of weeks ago very suddenly. She was the publishing director of a diverse imprint at Harper, I want to say, and yeah, it's kind of sad news for the industry. And right before the beginning of the event, they all shared memorials of, you know, their experience knowing Sarita, which was really nice and quite emotional. And then they switched over to talking about romance books and black romance love interests, and honestly it was such a nice atmosphere. It felt like I was sitting in a room full of my black aunties giving me dating and relationship advice. That's how like heartwarming and comforting it was, and how wise these women were on the subject of black romance and why it's so important to have black romance characters. Stephanie Yeboah was talking about the importance of plus girls in plus women in romance. Bolu was talking about creating like black men that are really, you know, lovable and caring for their woman and the worth of waiting to find the perfect man for you. And Lisa Bent, whose book is about Simona, who's like in her 40s and is still single, was really talking about, because she's also a counsellor, talking about how, you know, if you've gone through therapy and you've figured out your identity and figured out who you are and you're still single, what does it mean to try and find someone romantically then when you feel complete within yourself and you figured out your identity and you are a full human being and you need someone who's going to add to your life rather than subtract it? Like, what does dating look like then? So I thought all of that was so fascinating, and it makes me want to read all of their books. After that, it was time for my panel. And on my panel, I was with some of my work colleagues, and I was talking about being in publishing as a black woman, but also what I want to do or what I want to see publishing improve in terms of like diversity and supporting their black authors. And on my panel, we did have one author to talk to this point as well from the authorial perspective, and that was Talia Hibbert, which meant I got to meet Talia Hibbert, and she is the absolute loveliest human being. Like, she was so lovely and so friendly. We got along really well. She signed all of my books. I had a big stack of 5 books for her and she signed them all. And yeah, it was just so cool getting to meet her and to be on a panel for the first time. And my sister was in the crowd as well as my sister's friend, and they were very nice, and they said like, oh, it went really well and everything. So I was happy with how it turned out. So that was a really nice panel. And then yesterday I went to the cinema with my work colleagues slash friends. You know, sometimes your work colleagues are your friends. And we went to watch Frankenstein, which I have been so excited to see, because if you know me, you know that I love Frankenstein. I love that classic. I think it's fantastic, it's gothic, it's brilliant. Mary Shelley really did that. And so I wanted to see this film, and let me tell you, 10 out of 10. Let me tell you, 10 out of 10. It's so satisfying when you watch a book to screen adaptation, and it is literally the book put on screen. It was fantastic. That is like Mary Shelley somewhere in her grave is smiling, because they managed to bring everything about Frankenstein to the table in this film. This is a Del Toro film? I don't know who this person is. I've never seen any of his films before. I've heard that they're really good, but I've just never happened to see one, and I need to see more, because let me tell you, this is something to see on screen. The cinematography was masterful. The camera angle choice, even when I was watching it, I was realizing and noticing the camera angle choice, the outfits and the costumes, the sharpness of the details in the filming. And I don't know what they did in the editing, but somehow with the editing it looks quite fairy tale-esque, but it feels very gothic and real at the same time. And so you get this like hyper real feeling with the goriness that's in this film. It was a lot gorier than I expected. It's not a horror film by any means, but you know, you are dealing with the fact that he is creating something from dead bodies, and it doesn't shy away from the fact that he is using dead bodies. And so it did feel very like gory and gritty and so gothic, but it also was just beautiful to watch. And I think that concept of beauty and grittiness merged is what makes the gothic genre. So in terms of film quality, this was an absolute masterpiece. The acting was fantastic. I really think Oscar Isaac did so well in his role, but also the person who played Elizabeth and William, they were really good too, as well as Jacob Eldory, something like that. I'm really so bad at these names, but he managed to play the monster so incredibly well. I do think the monster's not as ugly as the monster could be. I don't know what it is with, you know, Hollywood and depictions of Frankenstein, but they do not want to make Frankenstein ugly. He's just a really tall man with lots of scars and is slightly purple or something like that. And is that ugliness? I don't know. Maybe I have really low concepts of ugliness, because people say things are ugly. I'm like, the only ugly thing I can really think of are spiders. So yeah, I just didn't find the monster that ugly, but other than that, really, really good. I gotta go to work. I gotta stop talking and waxing lyrical about this film, but it was so good. In terms of the storyline, I really like how they did it. It really followed the metric of the book again, in terms of like the pacing and the point of view switching. And at the end there, it all came together, and I was like, wow, talk about childhood trauma. This film really felt like it went to dark emotional places. So please check your content warnings before you watch this film, because it does go to kind of dark emotional places, especially with some of the longings that the monster has. But at the end of it, it did feel like, oh look, this is about, you know, domestic abuse and childhood trauma. And I really like that, even though this is a classic film with very clear messaging and themes on beauty, on nature, on, you know, ethics and life and death, even though it's really clearly about all of those things, and the film doesn't shy away from it, it includes all of those themes, it still decided to add what is essentially there in the book already, but emphasize that to a different degree in a way that I haven't seen before. This film is making me think and feel a lot without being too on the nose about it, which I really appreciate in cinema today, where I think sometimes we are spoon feeding our audience, you know, concepts. Like, let them still develop those analytical skills, and I think this film brings it. So I had a fantastic time. I give this 10 out of 10. In terms of a book to film adaptation, is probably one of my favorites. So yeah, I need to go now. I'm going to work, and then after work I'm going to, guess where I'm going? I'm going to Shakespeare's Globe. I just got finished editing week vlog 2, and I really liked this segment where I was just like standing and closing out the vlog talking, so I thought, why not do the same thing again, because I think when I stand talking to you, you can see how much I like talk with my hands and move, which is also really fun. But I'm here to close out this vlog by telling you the last couple things that I did and also what I've been reading. So to start with, I went to see Troilus and Cressida in theatre at Shakespeare's Globe, and it was fantastic as per usual when I go to the Globe to see anything on stage. So I think I got confused between Troilus and Cressida and Troilus and Cassandra. So Cassandra makes an appearance in the play but is not a main character. And just as I predicted, you know, when you see it on stage, it's just so much clearer. All of these characters, all of these moving parts, all of the, you know, chemistry and the push and pull. And this is actually quite a distressing play, and they emphasize the distressing elements because there's quite a lot of, you know, SA moments in the play, and I think it was like a bit intense to watch, but it was also really good. It's a very long play too, but I really liked seeing it on stage. We had some phenomenal actors. I really loved who played Hector, and the person who stole the show was Troilus himself. He was a fantastic actor. He was always in character. He just embodied the character of Troilus so much. There's something about acting and watching it on theatre when you are close up and personal, because you're right by the stage and you can just see the sheer talent of their acting skill and how deep it goes. I was so impressed by the person who played Troilus. The costumes were so fun, the set was really fun, the musical instruments, the interaction on stage. It was just such a good production of the play, and I had no problems following it. I didn't find it difficult, even though I forgot to read a summary ahead of time. It was all still fantastic and fine. The only thing that impacted my experience was the fact that it was pouring with rain. Now when you do outdoor theatre, this is always a chance, and at the Globe, you know, they keep on going whatever the weather, and I knew this. I had my rain jacket, I was prepared, but it was raining so much. It started about 10 minutes in and didn't let up the whole rest of the night, so I was absolutely soaked after watching it. And you know, you have to stand in the rain, and I was in my trainers, in my Converse, so it was just raining right through my shoes, but it was fine. It was still a good play. At the end, towards the end, I kind of went to the back area where you can lean against something and there's a bit of a dry overhang, and I did that because I had a tote bag with my work laptop in it, so I was trying to like stand in a way where my like jacket would keep my bag dry, but I needed to move because my bag was getting too wet. But anyway, really enjoyed seeing that, and another one ticked off of the Shakespeares that I want to watch. And then also yesterday I had reading sprints on Katee's channel. They were a Gothtober mashup, and it was a lot of fun and just lovely to talk about Victorian and Gothic literature. I do read classics, as you know, and I discussed them, but we talked about annotation and, you know, close reading. I'm really excited to read Hard Times by Charles Dickens soon, and I think, I'm not sure if I'm going to annotate my copy because I'm going to be reading one of my beautiful classics, but I'm looking forward to like close reading that with Abby and discussing it and just getting a bit more of that analytical feel to my reading once again. But speaking of reading, let me do my last reading update. So we're coming towards the end of Gothtober. After this I've got one more week to go and I need to finish these 3 books. So let me check in with you on all of them so you can see the stakes of our last week of reading. Camp Damascus, still halfway, no new updates. Play Nice is what I was reading on those sprints, and I am now officially a third of the way through this book from what it looks like from where my bookmark is. I'm really enjoying this. As I said before, I'm really enjoying the sibling dynamics, and most of the annotations I'm making while reading this is about the sibling dynamics and how Cleo's character in particular is so framed and shaped by the way that her parents treat her. But what this has introduced to me that I really like is the fact that we have an unreliable narrative. We've got an unreliable narrator in Cleo herself, as her memory is quite, you know, gappy and she doesn't entirely remember her time at the house, but also her sisters remember it a particular way, and every time they say like a memory or something, you're like, do you trust them? Do you believe their take on it? Then you've also got the mum's notes that she's left for Cleo in the house, so do you trust her mum's notes? But even in her mum's notes, she leaves her own annotations of like, I didn't quite tell this story truly, this is what really happened. So you're getting like several takes on the same scene sometimes, and everybody's remembering it slightly differently, and you can just tell that Cleo is like the linchpin in this whole haunted house situation, and I'm just so intrigued to see how it's all going to come together. And I think it was such a clever way of Rachel Harrison kind of building the fact that all of this is unreliable and it's down to you to choose what you're going to believe. Intrigued, colour me so intrigued. And last but not least, I did start reading The Coworker by Freida McFadden, and I was really worried about this not counting for my point of view prompt, but I needn't have feared, because not only is it like past timeline, present timeline, like she always does, but the past timeline is in somebody else's point of view, which is perfect for the prom, so I'm very chuffed about that. So this one, yeah, I told you what it's about, the co-worker who goes missing, and I had some suspicions. I'm actually so far into this, I don't know how to tell you, but Freida McFadden's books, I can just burn right through them. They're so easy to read, even though they're about 300 pages long each. And so I am already at page 256, and it's quite funny because this is page 256, right? So I'm like 2/3 of the way through the book. I've only got 100 pages left. That says part 2. We're starting part 2 with 100 pages left. What can I tell you about this? I had so many suspicions, like, is it this person? Is it that person? And, you know, last time I read a Freida McFadden book, I was feeling quite chuffed because I've got to the point where I've read enough of her books that I can be like, I can see, you know, what your usual take is on this. I didn't see this coming, so I'm in part 2 and I'm like, things have happened that I didn't expect, that I didn't call, that I didn't see ahead of time, and that's always pleasant and fun and surprising. So that's really good, but obviously there's probably going to be a lot more things that I don't see coming because, you know, we're in part 2 now, there's still 100 pages, so there's loads of room for her to play around with us. What I will say about this though is that I don't think it's going to be my favourite Freida McFadden at all, because we have a character who is not named autistic but reads as a stereotypical description of someone who's autistic. It feels like a very surface level, very much leaning on stereotypes. Freida McFadden loves to do these women who are like very surface level, like, oh, I'm not going to ask my boyfriend for help because I don't want to be a clingy girlfriend, that kind of vibe, or like, our relationship isn't working because he's not hot enough, you know, he's too simple for me. So I just don't always love the way she depicts women, but I still breeze through them, so that's why they usually end up as average reads for me. And I think this is either gonna, depending on how the plot goes, it's either gonna be average or it's gonna be lower than average, because I'm really not liking the way they're describing this, you know, not really named autistic person. We'll see, we'll see. But there you have it. That's my final reading update and my final update for this vlog. We are gonna end it here so I can start my final week of reading. Oh my gosh, stress, I need to finish 3 books. Please let me know in the comment section down below. What should I ask you? Please let me know in the comment section down below if you could see one thing in theatre, on stage or live, what would you like to go and see? This video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!